The Saturday afternoon shootout is on the air. Warning, although the information expressed on the show has been researched by our staff, it may not be correct. All opinions made by the hosts or their guests are theirs alone and should not be considered legal advice. Be sure to consult an attorney before attempting anything you hear on the show. Just because we say it on the internet doesn't mean it will stand up in court. Now, here are your hosts.
Hey, welcome. It's the afternoon of June 8th, right? It's Saturday.
I don't have a calendar. I don't know.
Yeah, you don't know. This is Saturday afternoon shootout, and we're on the air right here on Flint Talk Radio. Got a producer behind the window, John. How you doing, John?
Very good, thank you.
Oh, see, you're not supposed to talk. Anyways, we're on the 15th floor of the Wilson Building, downtown Flint. You look out the window there. The birds are flying. Not that window, that goes into the studio. That's out the studio. Birds are flying, bees are buzzing, flowers are blooming. And boy, oh boy, there are a lot of women in cars on the way over today, wasn't there?
Yeah, if you know what's going on in Flint, I don't know if there's... I know Rumble in Flint's next Saturday, I think.
They were coming over from the Lansing area, and man, oh man, car after car after car of pretty young girls.
Yeah, give us a call, 810-208-1854, and let us know what the hell is going on.
And you can call in, ask us questions. Remember, we still have gift cards to give away. Who doesn't want a free gift card? It's free, and it's a gift card.
Who doesn't want one?
It's all good. And remember, Nate and I wrote a book called My Parents Open Carry. You go to myparentsopencarry.com. Check that out. We'd love for you to buy a copy or 10. Great gift presents. Father's Day is coming up. If you have any kids that are fathers, it'd make a perfect gift.
It would.
Other than that, how you doing?
I'm not doing too bad, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
You played last night. You had a gig last night.
Yeah, we played at a beer tent. It's really just a pavilion. It's a permanent structure.
It was a festival of some
It was a
sort.
festival, yeah, and it was a lot of fun.
You said there were a lot of pretty girls there?
I didn't say anything like that.
You said there were lots of pretty girls, and you couldn't help but look at all the pretty girls that were there.
Yeah.
And if
I actually don't think I did say that. She was there with me, so she knows.
She was one of the pretty girls.
She was. She was the...
Was she scantily clad like you told me all the girls were?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
What was she wearing?
A sweater.
big bulky sweatshirt and sweatpants. She looked good. But they were pink, and it said juicy on them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It did not say that.
I just want to do a quick shout out to people I know are listening. Eric Holder, Obama. Just want to thank you for tuning in.
And our Verizon phone.
Verizon.
Yeah.
Verizon, thank you.
We had a chat that they heard earlier today on our phones.
Yeah, we did. So you're welcome for that, too.
What do you think about all that?
I think it's fine. I mean, here's the deal. I'm not talking to terrorists.
Security. Oh, yeah.
I'm not talking to terrorists, so I don't have a problem with it.
Oh, yeah, if you're not doing anything wrong.
No, because really... What is the price of security? And the price of security is every bit of your freedom. Right. And who's not willing to pay that price?
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, except for me.
And me.
And you.
And probably all of our listeners.
Probably John.
John doesn't.
I imagine. Actually, where'd John go?
John's taping us. Oh! John's an agent.
He's on his Verizon cell phone right now calling the president. I'm not sure.
Hey, Barry, listen good. We want our freedom back. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, we do.
Listen, they're only doing it for our safety.
Yeah, and here's the thing: they're collecting. Supposedly, this is what they claim, but should you trust them? I mean, they're saying, "Look, we lied to you before because we said under oath." Do you want to turn my headphones back up? Thank you. We said under oath that we were not collecting any data on American citizens, and now it turns out we're collecting data on American citizens. But we didn't lie when we said under oath that we weren't. What they're doing, they're collecting all of the Verizon to and from phone numbers and duration of calls. They claim they don't have the actual audio recordings of calls, but really? I mean, are you going to believe them? And then we find out that there's at least 9 major tech companies, Google, Facebook, Apple, that are also claiming they're not working with the government, but they are, in fact, working with the government and in giving up user data. anytime there's any sort of request, like, hey, Google, we would like information on everybody, and Google says, oh boy, here you go.
And I'm bending over, and here's the lube.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the reason is because of government regulation of these companies. They're afraid of the government. Of course, they're going to work with the government. Government allows them to do what they want and to have their business. They're making lots of money. They're not going to piss off the administration because they can come down hard on them. Look what they did to the Tea Partiers and all that with IRS and all the nonprofits and all that good stuff.
Well, it looks like Apple was added to this list of cooperative companies in October, I think, 2012.
Well,
they were just on Capitol Hill being questioned about some of their tax. The way they handle their taxes, because they're smart, they follow U.S. law, and they don't pay much in taxes compared to their revenue and profits and things. So I think it's exactly what you're talking about. I mean, they are cooperating with the government, but that's been very recent, and they're still being grilled about, well, why aren't you paying more taxes? You're rich. Shouldn't you pay your fair share?
It's like, I would love to know what the hell fair share means. I mean, basically, the government if you make it, we want it all. That's our fair share. That's what they want.
I think France has gotten pretty close to what a lot of liberals call fair share, and that's where some people's tax bills were actually higher than their yearly income. That's fair.
Yeah. We got a letter, my wife and I, from the IRS saying that we owed a bunch of penalties and fines because our taxes weren't filed. And
well, you should have filed them.
Well, we did, like in February. And so after a couple hours on the phone, my wife finally figured it out. And what they did is they had just her Social Security number or something.
Okay.
So they just applied a portion of the tax to her income. And we don't care about your husband, even though we filed jointly. They couldn't figure out that they had to just get my Social Security number and so, oh, okay, they're married, and they put it together. But because of that little thing, that we were going to have an audit and pay all kinds of
fees.
And
this is the massive structure that was targeting Tea Parties and Patriot groups and things, and claiming incompetence, which isn't a good excuse. It doesn't make it any better. The outcome is the outcome, and I think it may have had some big effect on the election. But let's not forget that they are and will be in charge of Obamacare. They are the enforcement arm of that bill.
That's a scary. And I have something a little later about the arming of the IRS, and we can talk about that in a minute.
I saw a cute little picture of an IRS agent shooting at the range in his IRS tax collector vest. It was reassuring.
Yeah, I can go find it if you want to talk about it.
No, it's fine. I mean, we should stick to the script.
Really? Because that's not what you say to me normally. You say, don't stick to the script.
All right, but now you're scrolling for a half hour, and we're making the audience wait patiently.
Yeah, like they are listening.
They could call us, 810-208-1854.
They could. Hey, Fred Shays, the owner of the U.S. Camera and Computer Shop at Penn Station in New York, was fined $60,000.
Sticking with the script?
I'm going to the script now.
Okay.
Yeah. $60,000 because he was selling little tiny, and I'm talking small, little lighters that looked like a gun. And apparently Bloomberg said fake guns that look like real ones are illegal and can be easily mistaken for the real thing, even though they're that big and they shoot a flame.
Yeah, but
possibly leading to dangerous or even fatal consequences.
Here's the thing: you can't smoke in New York City, so what good use would you have of a lighter anyway? Especially a lighter shaped like a gun. The only use for a lighter shaped like a gun is to rob a bank.
Well, that's why they were made.
Absolutely.
Little tiny banks.
Little banks. The tip of the lighter was orange, but the law says that the entire fake gun has to be a bright color. And I pointed out when we talked that the Liberator, that 3D printed gun,
bright.
No, they were silver.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's probably some gold too, but the gun created on a 3D printer,
right.
The Liberator, very bright white and blue.
Yeah.
It's not a fake gun.
No.
So what good is the law?
Oh, your
and
point is,
the pink revolvers that I've seen.
The point is that bad people could take a real gun and paint it all one color like orange.
That's never been done, though.
And that'd be perfectly legal.
That has never been done. A criminal would not do that ever.
It's painted, Bloomberg, see?
Well, then Bloomberg wouldn't know if it was a real gun or not.
Yeah.
So
Anyone thinking of selling fake guns should take this as a clear warning, and that's what this is about. It's time to get rid of these dangerous toys. You know, because kids are swallowing them and stuff. If you attempt to sell illegal or fake guns, we'll come after you. More indoctrination.
I'd like to point out that this lighter actually was not a toy. It was actually a lighter.
Right. It's not a toy.
The target market is not children. It's people who smoke or want a lighter to start a damn campfire, which are probably not allowed.
Yeah,
in
do
New
they
York
have medical
City.
marijuana in New York? I don't think they do they?
Not yet.
Because you could light up a doobie with it too. But
Well, once that happens, then they'll have to be legal. Because you can't restrict people's rights to smoke pot
I hope he fights
with
this.
any lighter
Ridiculous.
they would like.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, he even showed documentation that once he found out he was not in compliance with law, he took them off the shelves immediately and said, look, I don't have them. They said, doesn't matter. $60,000 is our reasonable assessment. You're going to have to pay $60,000 to stay in business.
Because Bloomberg says it's costing me $60,000 just to pay for one of my security guards. $60,000.
No, come on. He was saving money because they have that anti-idling law in New York City. So you can't leave your car idling because it's bad for the environment. Because they are so damn arrogant to think that one little tiny individual's SUV can cause the entire earth to warm up.
I don't think it's just one. I think it's millions of them idling.
Okay, billions of them could not do it.
I don't know.
I do. I'm a scientist.
I'm not a climate scientist, so I can't say.
No, that's for sure. Anyway, the point is how he got around this to save money was he actually had his security guards that were $60,000 for a day put a home window air conditioner unit, retrofit it into the back of his SUV, run an extension cord out and plug it in. So because he was tired of having, like the peons that live in the city, he was tired of having to leave a hot building or a cool building, go out into the heat and get into a hot vehicle.
Because he couldn't have it running.
Because he couldn't leave it running. Because he was leaving it running and the citizen said, well, wait a minute, that's your policy.
Yeah.
And so he did that. So I mean, he's saving the money. No, they've made
The laws
two
don't apply to the king.
or $2.4 million on this toy gun crap from fines from businesses
That paid for his air conditioning?
that probably paid for his air conditioning and the electricity. The
We got
coal,
an outlet we can use, guys.
the coal power generated electricity that he used for this air conditioner in his vehicle. So just want to.
Here's a solution. Bloomberg's so rich, he could just buy New York City, and anybody else who doesn't like his agenda can move out. That way he does. And if he's actually making it his
Why
place,
doesn't he just go buy an island somewhere and live?
yeah,
Because who would he have power over?
because he's got
He
visions.
can hire people for that.
That's true.
People would be willing to be, well, they are willing to be slaves.
They must be. They still live in New York City.
Right.
California is still fairly populated.
Oh boy, they're really screwing up out there. We'll talk about that. They just banned lead bullets, I guess.
Well, lead is worse for the environment than an
Yeah.
SUV.
U.S. to sign arms treaty. Boy, oh boy. I don't know. Can they do it? Doesn't it have to be approved by Congress or something?
Oh, I think he can sign it, but it has
The
to be
Senate.
sort of ratified by the
Yeah,
Senate.
it's got to be 2/3 or something.
So I don't think that will
They
happen.
don't have the votes.
I don't think that'll happen. The problem with this, it's a UN treaty, and in general, and when I say in general, I mean on almost every policy, the UN is a bad thing.
Yeah.
And we don't want to let the UN be involved in our domestic policy any more than they already are. And that's kind of what this would try to do. It would try to require us to create gun registries,
Right.
register every gun and gun owner.
Right.
And I'm talking a federal registry,
Yeah.
not state by state.
Well,
Now-
it's a world registry
yeah. Well, it's
because our enemies could.
essentially
obtain
it's
that
a world
information.
registry, but I think it is individual countries that have the registry.
Right, but
the
is it
UN
gonna be
can probably
available?
access it,
Sure.
and they would have agents that would come in every once in a while to make sure that you're doing
Verify
it
they-
right.
yeah,
And
yeah. You don't have any
that's
more
wrong. Now, the thing is, can that really usurp our Constitution?
Yeah.
Technically,
My understanding is
no, but the president's doing that every day as it is.
Right.
I mean, his administration, that's what
Yeah, if it's just on
that's
paper,
their goal.
There's a paper and the idea of the Constitution, and there's actually what really happens.
Right.
You know, which are its violations of it all the time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I guess we can wave this up while they're shooting at us, and it really won't.
I think
help.
really this won't affect us directly, but we know what gun registries lead to. I mean, in this country and in every other country. So the countries that are adopting this, and if it starts to be enforced, it's going to cause problems worldwide, and eventually it is going to affect us.
Yeah, I agree.
Because we're going to have to deal with the crap that it causes. The Hitlers.
And probably sooner than later.
Since Hitler did, in fact, enact stricter gun laws to disarm the Jews, regardless of what people want to argue with me and say. But
it was eventually it was to disarm most everybody.
Yeah, well, we could get into that and Weimar Republic and all that.
Obama claims he's going to sign it. John Kerry says he's going to sign it. We'll see. He hasn't listened to anything anyone's ever said and done what he wanted. Worst president ever.
Worse than Carter?
Yes.
FDR?
Yes.
Woodrow Wilson?
Yes.
Huh. Lincoln?
Yes.
Reagan?
And Lincoln was pretty bad, but yes, worse.
Lincoln was okay on a lot of things. The state sovereignty thing, he didn't quite get it.
And habeas corpus and holding people. If he had a Gitmo, there would have been people there.
He was just so damn tall. I mean, you can only handle so much when you're that tall. And then he wore the hat. And
made him even taller. You'd think he would be wearing low riding shoes.
Yeah, and walk on his knees or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But
I guess
he
not.
liked being 8 feet tall.
I wouldn't mind it.
So hopefully
you're probably
he won't
about as
sign
tall
it.
as Lincoln.
No, he was 6'4", I guess.
You're not?
No, I'm 6'2".
Oh, you're short.
And but that was tall for then. I mean, General Grant was like 6'5" or 5'6".
Yeah.
He was really short, 5'4", 5'6", somewhere there. Lee was about 5'6". People were just smaller then. Has to do with nutrition and genetics and evolution.
Yeah. I don't know why that's funny.
It's funny.
Okay.
But speaking of rights, U.S. Supreme Court comes out, upholds DNA swabbing. You and I may disagree on that.
This is a good one because really it's going to help us solve crimes.
Yes, it will.
Much like fingerprinting and taking blood samples and
yes.
I don't know.
But on the other hand, unlike a fingerprint, DNA has the potential to basically identify you as a unique individual. And who knows what can be used with that data.
Fingerprints aren't unique?
They are, but they're not going to tell you about your predisposition for cancer or your if you have blue eyes or...
You think?
Yeah, they can't do that.
No, they can't. Today.
With fingerprints.
Science is evolving.
Yeah, I don't think fingerprints are going to come up.
Yeah, I know.
But DNA is, and Scalia was a dissenter, and he wrote some good stuff, and I liked what he said. They claim that they're only going to do DNA sampling for serious offenses, and we're not talking. I wouldn't have a problem with DNA being taken from convicted criminals. Okay, you're convicted in a court of law. You want to collect a database on convicted criminals. We're talking about arrested. And it could be for anything, drunk driving, somebody, you're boinking the local cop's girlfriend and he doesn't like it, he arrests you.
You tell a cop to go F himself.
Go F himself. They arrest you, they take your DNA, and it goes into a national database. That's wrong. They did say, though, I'll read this. It says, while a cheek swab does constitute a search under the law, it is but a light touch, and there's no circular intrusion. A critical point, the court said, in determining whether it was reasonable. Totally missing the idea of what DNA is, what it can tell you about an individual, and the fact that these could be innocent people that are getting put into a database. And Scalia comes out and he says, yeah, sure, it's effective. We could solve more crimes, he says, but then we could take DNA samples of anyone who flies on an airplane. Or better yet, what I suggest is we could take it and every newborn baby in the United States, you do a DNA swab with Obamacare, which was probably what will happen, and that goes into a national database. Now they have everybody in the whole country in a file, and your DNA is known.
Yeah,
not just criminals.
I think you're right in your... as long as the princess is rescued from the dragon, it doesn't matter the reason, right? I think you ultimately you have the right idea, but I think you have the wrong angle on it because
But there was a group that came in here a couple of years ago who were the public health department wanted to get, I think it was, they wanted to get drops of blood from newborns and stuff like that, and they're fighting against that for the same reason. But yet this same group, I know, I can't go into it because I don't want to, pass out their name, but I know they're all on board for Obamacare. Well, Obamacare is going to actually require this kind of stuff.
I see kits being sent to schools, and they want to collect sample on from children, and the idea there, probably with good intention, is if the child's lost or abducted, that might help in identifying them or something. But where I think you're straying off the correct course a little bit is that this is more of a Fourth Amendment issue than what might happen in the future. I don't think it matters. If we knew for certain that DNA could not be used ever in the future for anything like you're talking about, I think it's still a problem. That this is still was the wrong decision. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated.
You've got it right there. Well, that's what Scalia said. He said the Fourth Amendment forbids searching a person for evidence of a crime when there is no basis for believing the person is guilty of the crime or is in possession of incriminating evidence. That prohibition is categorically and without exception. It lies at the very heart of the Fourth Amendment. Whenever this court has allowed a suspiciousless search, it has insisted upon a justifying motive apart from the investigation of a crime. It is obvious that no such non-investigative motive exists in this case. And I loved what he said. Where is it? Come here.
I don't know what you're looking for, but
about the opening your mouth for the king's inspection.
Yeah, I guess my point. I almost have the same argument against collecting fingerprints. That what is? I mean, why do we collect fingerprints from people that are arrested? We've talked about people that on the side of the road, the police have taken their fingerprints. They take their gun and run the serial numbers and take their fingerprints on the top of the squad car.
And photographs.
Yeah, and that's the difference, I think, and the difference that the court used, or that I heard from the court, I believe, was that fingerprints, photographs, maybe even iris scans, those are external, sort of like public knowledge, because I could get them from you right now if I had, the proper tools without even touching you. It's something you go out in public and you're presenting it. DNA is not like that at all. So I think that probably is the difference, but it's still, there's a fine line there,
got this wrong, really wrong.
Dashed, curved, fine line that we need to make sure we stay on the right side of. This ruling is on the wrong side of that line.
Absolutely wrong. And Scalia said, I doubt that the proud men who wrote the Charter of Our Liberties would have been so eager to open their mouths for royal inspection. Make no mistake about it, because of today's decision, your DNA can be taken and entered into a national database if you are ever arrested, rightly or wrongly, and for whatever reason. This is wrong. This is bad. I don't know how this can be corrected. We could have a law that says they can't do that. That's what we need to do.
Yeah, so states need to step up. Now, I'll tell you, Ingham County here in Michigan, the county that the state capital is in, their sheriff is completely in favor of this. He says, unfortunately, he doesn't have the resources to take DNA from every person that's arrested, but they'll do it when they can.
Like I say, if you're convicted of a crime, serious crimes, I don't have a problem with putting your DNA. I mean, I kind of do, but I can understand that.
I do for sure.
More so, but just for an arrest, this is really wrong, people. Lots of people are arrested every day wrongfully, and the charges are dropped, but now they've got your DNA. I mean, it's going to get to the point where they're just going to take it from babies.
There's not enough outrage. I don't think there's enough outrage to go on.
There's very little outrage. I mean, the conservatives on the court ruled the wrong way on this.
Well, because they want to do what's good for public safety. That's
It's the tyrant's tool.
That's the thing. I mean, we're collecting Verizon phone records for security.
And there's conservatives that come out and said, that's fine.
Lindsey Graham said something about, what's the problem?
Careful with conservatives, because
Yeah, I
Lindsey
know,
Graham
because
is
he's
not.
a-
But
he's a dick.
yeah, Lindsey Graham, he said, I'm not talking to terrorists, which was the joke I was making. I'm not talking to terrorists, so I don't mind that they're collecting my phone records.
Well, it's like, so basically we all gotta sit there and wonder what the government might be looking for. So we don't know what they're looking for, but at any given point, whatever we believe in might be considered criminalized now.
Yep,
But these people
exactly.
have no idea about the future. They say, well, the government right now, they're just doing this in this little narrow thing. They're only looking for this now. But who knows what some kind of dictatorship later on can do with now being allowed to do that, and they expand it and they expand it. It's like with the DNA. What are they going to be able to do, and how can the government use it for or against you down the road? You got to look at down the road too. You can't just look at now.
These
It's
wonderful,
right
wonderful
us
representatives that we have, when they had Eric Holder on the stand, instead of saying, hey, I represent the American citizens, why are you collecting their data? They said, can you just assure me that you're not collecting my data?
Right. Oh, what an error.
And of course, Eric Holder says, "Well, I
can't talk about that. I'll talk to you in private
I'll
about
come
that."
back later and we'll talk, but I can't answer that question right now." Well,
And
first
he
of all,
goes, well, so you are then.
he said the correct answer would have been no. We are not, but I'm sure they are.
Sure they are.
Especially if they're Verizon customers. I don't know if the government uses Verizon,
And especially
and we know T-Mobile's part of this, and we
Especially
know
if they were
every other
Republicans.
company is part of it too. Verizon's just the big one, and Verizon has the "Can you hear me now?" Ad, so that made it even.
You know
better.
this too. They use the actuality. A lot of people don't realize a cell phone is nothing more than a very high frequency radio. Basically, that's all it is. And so they're going to say, well, you can't have the expectation of privacy on one of our airwaves because government has ownership of airwaves.
That's come up because I think that they might have just been individuals or it was a police officer. I'm not sure, but they had a device because you can tap into the cell signal and get it. And I don't remember what the case was. They heard a crime or the police heard a crime or something. And I'm not even sure what the outcome of that case was. I think they said it was okay because you can't expect privacy there. But it's scary, but it's something you need to know. And this is the stuff we know about. Cell technology is a relatively old technology. There is so much more happening at the NSA and other places that we don't know about. They just built a huge data warehouse, completely secure, for what? What do they need to put there? And then, well, of course, it's only data that we've gotten from terrorists overseas.
I'm
right?
sorry, but I see this whole shift in the government with the police state, the arming of the police departments, the gathering of data, the infringing on rights. The government is expecting a civil war.
You think so?
Yes, in the back of their mind, they're saying we got to start preparing for this because it may happen. Because at some point we're going to really piss them off, and we want to be able to squash that as fast as we can and get stuff out there now and get it ready so that when it happens, and it will, I don't know, we're prepared for it. And I see that happening. I just do.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
I don't
I'm
know.
just telling you.
I don't know if it's that so much that it's civil
I
war.
bet there's a plan, a revolution of some type.
I think the short term
or at
really
least
is
civil unrest of some sort.
Yeah, I think the short term really is to be able to destroy political opposition. And I don't think that's necessarily like an armed revolution that they're worried about. I think it is literally just keeping the power they have and increasing it a little bit.
Or a lot.
Everything's relative, right?
Everything is.
'Cause it's hard to increase it a lot because, I mean, they're doing everything that we can imagine, right?
Yeah,
It's
everything.
1984.
All this stuff that the people who are zealots for liberties feared is happening now, but they want to pat us on the shoulders and say, "Shh, don't worry, we're not doing that. You're just misinformed."
Oh, what is
Pay
that?
attention to the man behind the curtain.
The voices saying tyranny's lurking around the corner. You need to reject those voices.
Don't listen to those
Thank you,
voices.
President Barack Hussein Obama. Those were his words.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Don't listen to reject those voices because they're telling the truth, and we don't want you to know the
That's
truth.
exactly right.
So, Nate, what happens when you have a big sobriety checkpoint in Burbank? Beautiful downtown
What happens
Burbank.
in Burbank when you have a security checkpoint is you make the street safer because you take thousands of drunk drivers
Right.
off the streets.
But what if you have that checkpoint and no drunks show up? even after 1,000 cars.
You're doing tyranny wrong.
This is what you do. You write a couple of citations for driving infractions, and you get one guy who's driving without a license. That's what you do. So, and you spend part of your $31,000 federal grant, that's taxpayers' money, doing this infringement upon your right. That's what happens.
It's money.
0 drunk drivers. 1,000 cars. What are the odds of that? And then they write
100%.
3 tickets? Yeah.
For
civil infractions, not even anything good.
I wonder what they were, like seatbelts or something.
Probably, or a cell phone, or probably had a cigarette lighter shaped like a gun.
Jeez.
All right. Here's the good. I
don't like checkpoints.
No. In Michigan, they're unconstitutional. Here's the thing for now. Here's the thing I don't like either. Liberty County, Florida.
The term unconstitutional is slowly becoming meaningless.
Yeah,
because lately it's like, of course it's unconstitutional. That's why we're doing it, because we reject the Constitution.
And that leads us right into this next thing, where in Liberty County, Florida, the sheriff, apparently the deputies pulled in somebody that was carrying a concealed weapon, and they pulled him into the sheriff's department there at the jail. I guess they didn't really officially book him or anything, but he said, he's carrying a concealed weapon without a license, so what? That's his constitutional right. And he kicks him free. And so apparently some of the people were out to get this sheriff because he's from outside the county, so some people didn't like him. But anyways, the attorney general came down and arrested the sheriff he was arrested for official misconduct because they said he destroyed a bunch of official documents and records on their arrest. Now, on a follow-up, I found out that he did everything within the rights of what a sheriff could do. A sheriff could get rid of records if they found that they were not needed in a case. And the sheriff determined that it wasn't needed, so they were destroyed. The sheriff's attorney said, the records at the jail show exactly what happened, and in this case, the records speak the truth. The sheriff looked at the facts and said, I believe in the Second Amendment, and we're not going to charge him. That is not misconduct at all. That is within the sheriff's prerogative whether to charge someone or not, which it is. It's right in the state laws. The sheriff is being charged with 1 count of official misconduct. He was released on his own recognizances. Good for the sheriff. People are backing him up. He's getting a lot of support from everybody across the country on that. It makes you feel good that at least some of these people understand and are fighting back. Same within Maryland. A sheriff came out. He opposes the state's new gun law, which is pretty risky in Maryland because they're pretty anti-gun. And we heard about Illinois. Illinois has basically passed through their House and Senate a concealed carry law, and it was also going to get rid of some of the state preemption rights that the towns have in Illinois, not like Michigan. Towns can enact guns that are more restrictive than the state. But what this is going to do is they're going to say, the cities are going to be able to ban like open carry and discharging and things like that, but they cannot outlaw lawful concealed carry. So that was in the bill, which was good. What? You're looking at me like,
I'm just trying to take in everything you're saying.
Oh, I know it because it's just all gems. Everyone is a gem. So anyways, it all passed. The governor is put in a position because he absolutely opposes it. He doesn't want to sign it. The attorney general came out and said, we're going to appeal to the feds on this and ask for a 30-day extension because really it's not fair that the governor has to make such a snap decision, unlike all the other governors where they passed all of the anti-gun laws and snap decisions and quickly.
Yeah, that's a great point because that's what they do is they'll at midnight they'll push through a bill, nobody will read it, they'll all vote for it, and then the governor will sign it without reading it.
And there's all kinds of
and that kind of crap. How quickly did Obamacare go through?
So remember, we got to pass before we see what's inside it. Nancy Pelosi.
Unless it's a legislation that might possibly be in line with the Constitution. And then we better scrutinize it. Well, and I think you should with all bills. So, I mean, I'm not necessarily opposed to having more time. But in the meantime, what they have is unconstitutional. So that law is void, right?
Right. Technically, on June 9th, tomorrow, they can start carrying concealed or openly in Illinois.
You want to go to Chicago?
We could, but
And not carry because we're not residents, and so that would be
yeah, it's tough.
that would be tough.
So, anyways, they got a 30-day extension so the governor could analyze, really, circle his troops and try to figure out a way around this. But in the meantime, Madison County, their county attorney, has said, concealed carry is legal in my county. I will not prosecute anybody who has a FOID card, a firearm owner's ID card, and is not a felon and can follow, federal law. They'll be able to carry openly or concealed in his county without fear of prosecution because that's what the Constitution says.
Yeah, I don't know if he's necessarily happy about it, but he seems to have acknowledged that that is in fact the case.
Oh, I don't know if he's happy or not. I don't think he was unhappy with it.
Okay.
His reasoning, he said, the reality is that in December the Fed said this. They have a higher authority over state law when it comes to Constitution, and we got to let people carry guns. So that's one attorney general. I don't know how the sheriff feels in Madison County, and I think that's adjacent to Chicago or so. It's one of the counties that are close to high population areas. So we'll see.
Yeah,
and it's only for people in his county.
Illinois' concealed carry bill is decent as far as concealed carry bills go. My thoughts that we shouldn't have concealed carry legislation because you shouldn't need it because the Constitution speaks for itself. It's pretty clear. They have a really long list of gun-free zones on there, though. Lots of places that are, including, parks and any events. And if you own an in-home daycare, well, that's a gun-free zone. Unless there aren't kids
There's like
there,
15
which
or
Michigan
20.
is very similar in that regard, which is kind of frustrating that even in your own home, if you run a specific type of business, you can't carry a gun. It's absurd. But I expected that they would have quite the list of gun-free zones. I kind of expected Chicago to be one of the gun-free zones that they had in the bill. I was kind of surprised that they didn't.
I don't think they could do that.
Yeah.
That would have been unconstitutional in violation of the federal order.
But restricting guns during a parade isn't? That's where it's like,
I know,
really?
and those things will get challenged, and those things hopefully will change in time because people will realize that, wow, there's not blood in the street, and crime has actually not gone up. It's gone down a little bit, and maybe this concealed carry stuff is a good thing.
I know there definitely are states that prohibit guns at events.
Yes.
North Carolina is a good example.
Georgia's one I think
there.
you can't carry one at like a parade.
Yeah, North Carolina you can't at a parade. That's where
ridiculous.
I want it.
That's ridiculous.
There and everywhere else that I happen to travel.
Yeah, well, we know.
Like in the studio, 15th floor of the Wilson building.
We can carry here.
And I don't, but we could.
Really?
Don't look at that. It's a lighter.
Our producer's
right?
carrying. It's a lighter. It's a big lighter. New York State, aggravated harassment of a police officer is now a felony.
Oh, boy.
What does that mean? Makes it a felony to harass, annoy, or threaten a police officer while on duty. Now, basically, it's a physical thing.
I'm not touching you.
Yeah.
I'm not touching you.
But what does it mean? There's already laws about touching or assaulting a police officer. What does annoying one constitute? There's resisting arrest laws already. It hasn't passed. I mean, it's only passed the
telling them to go F themselves.
The Senate. Yeah. Well, yeah, that was in Gonzales, Texas. A guy got convicted by a jury because he told the cop to go F himself, and I don't even know what the charge was. Disorderly conduct, I think, is what it was.
Yeah, that's
in Texas.
That's crazy, isn't it? I don't know.
He's going to appeal. Oh, and the fine was $1.
It's the principle. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I know, and he brought it up. He represented himself, and he said, "Go F yourself" about 1,000 times during his testimony in court because he wanted to get it on the record. And he says, "Boy, this is a great example of using taxpayers' dollars to great good. How much is it costing this county to prosecute me, and all the time for the judges and everyone else, paying the jurors and all this for $1 fine? Well done, Gonzales, Texas." So, I was threatened to be arrested because I told a cop I didn't want to listen to his damn lecture. Well, that's swearing. I'm going to arrest you for swearing. And I looked at him and I said, freedom of speech, officer.
Yeah, no, I think the canoe guy pretty much wrapped that one up for us.
For Michigan, yeah.
Yeah.
And I brought that up. Anyways, ridiculous. They're just, and the reason was, you have to respect the police. The police are doing a dangerous thing. You have to respect them all the time. You have to respect them. He said that about 1,000 times. Respect. And I just think of Cartman on South Park. Respect my authority! You will respect my authority, or you will be arrested with a 4-year felony.
This seems logical to me.
Sad.
I mean, police officer deserve better than the rest of us little guys.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So,
I think when they go to Dairy King or Dairy Queen or something like that, they should get an extra scoop of ice cream. If they should, oh wait a minute, a lot of them get free ice cream already.
yeah.
And I think when they go to like convenience stores,
when they
and the owner, they should get a free cup of coffee.
You know-
Oh wait a minute, a lot of them already do.
There used to be a 7-Eleven right at the end of the street here, and the cops were coming here, and they were taking, they're allowing so much free stuff, They're actually abusing it so much. They're walking out with bags full of stuff that, take
that's
home to their
crazy.
family and stuff.
Yeah.
That they actually had a sign, they created where they had a sign what they were getting and how much it would cost. And it was on a clipboard for all the people from the different shifts had to learn how to fill that out, get them to fill it out. But yeah, they're walking away with big bags of, snack cakes and stuff like that. Just
And that's really classy.
and I know that there are departments that actually prohibit taking free
Yeah.
things because it's essentially bribery. When I was harassed by the police,
Well, I've been in discussion with police chiefs and they disagreed, and I just couldn't understand it. But
they disagreed with what?
they said it wasn't bribery. That it's if somebody wants to buy them something, can't they? Yeah, on their own time.
I'm
When
sure
they're not in uniform,
I'm sure
stand there getting free stuff.
I'm
in
sure
a
business
store.
owners actually do it because they respect what the police officers do.
No,
I have
they
no
don't.
problem with that.
They do it
and
because
I
they
think
expect to get
they
special
also do
privileges.
it because it keeps the police in their places. When I was harassed by the Frankmuth police officer that told me if somebody broke into that or that came into the 7-Eleven with a gun while I was standing in front of him, he would do nothing to protect me. He was sitting there drinking his free coffee and
Right.
eating his free donuts.
My brother lives down the street from a 7-Eleven, and when we go in there, there's always 4 or 5 cop cars outside there. And they're all inside just drinking coffee and talking and stuff like that.
One time I met this
have a
cop here
problem
in
with it,
Flint.
really.
I met this cop here in Flint who had a small business. I was applying for a job. I didn't know he was a Flint cop. He
Yeah.
showed up. Anyway, we did this job interview. We're down here at Angelo's, and anyway, we just had coffee. Sat around and talked. He goes, "I'm going to see who's going to pay for coffee this time." And he's in uniform. He brought the squad car to this restaurant to do this interview with. Okay?
Conduct his private business.
Right. Anyway, so he walks in. He walks behind the counter and says, "Hey, Angela, who's paying for the coffee?" And so I turned to the waitress and I handed her like $2 or $3. I said, "I'm not a cop," and I said, "I'm not going to take anything for free."
Right.
You got, and then
I'll
I
pay for
handed it
mine.
over to her, and I only worked for the guy for 2 days because I thought he was so unethical, and he was a total pig. I mean,
Yeah.
that expression fit this man to the T.
Yeah. That's too bad that he was doing all that. And you wonder why these cities are in trouble.
There for sure are good police officers.
Absolutely.
I think the majority.
Majority are. But the ones that aren't make them all look bad.
Oh, for
And then-
sure. And I think
And then idiots get internet talk shows and talk about them.
that's what happens. I think that it should be an obligation of the good police officers to stand up and
Right, and they don't often do that. They need to do that.
that's tough.
So let's
That's
face it,
tough.
you get so screwed if you did speak out
Yeah,
against it. You would
exactly.
if a
There's-
good cop. Yeah.
There's that code.
What do you think of this law?
I like it.
Excellent.
I mean, if it's a law, it's good. Look, we elect representatives to go and pass legislation that restricts our freedom.
Okay, and that's good. Can't be bad.
We elected them.
All right, Kansas Governor Sam Brownback, I like that name,
I bet you do.
signs law prohibiting government lobbying on gun control issues. Last Friday, they signed a bill into law that prohibits any state employee, municipality, or school district from using taxpayers' dollars to lobby in support of or against gun control, for or against. I think that's a good thing.
Now I'll tell you. Go to
said-
stopthenra.org or something.
Yeah, I was
and
gonna
look
look
at
it
how
up.
the NRA supports legislation that restricts anti-gun lobbyists. I think it was this one.
Maybe. Yeah, some young punk guy who made millions of dollars on the internet .com boom bust. He's some tech guy. He started stopthenra.org, and you can go check that out. And if you want to get a good laugh and all the propaganda that's on there.
Especially since a lot of the stuff that he posts probably isn't things that the NRA would support anyway.
Yeah, and a lot of
it's actually
it's crap too. I mean, a lot of it's fake. And okay, California Assembly, that's like their House, recently passed a ban on traditional ammunition containing lead that may result in a complete ban on all hunting ammunition. Because if you can't outlaw the gun, you can outlaw the ammunition.
Can you?
I think so.
Years ago, wasn't there a
EPA came out with a study
yeah
on
round?
that.
They made a round that actually is made of a compressed fertilizer for like
Oh, I don't
practice
know.
rounds. I don't know if you remember that or not.
No, I don't remember seeing that. That's
It was
interesting though.
Yeah, so
Not for hunting.
it wasn't for hunting; it was just for practice. But I mean, so I mean that's an option, which is a ridiculous option. But
Lead is cheap and efficient.
but besides, you're an environmental person; you know all about it.
Yeah, lead's pretty stable and is not usually an issue. The problem is with birdshot, and you have waterfowl will ingest the pellets and can cause problems. Yeah, that has happened, and they've outlawed lead pellets for waterfowl hunting, and it has made a difference with waterfowl. But there's
The big picture of things,
there's
isn't
no-
that much lead going into these places that's really causing that big of an issue.
And that's what it was. It was highly hunted areas, state game areas where lots of people were hunting, putting a lot of shot in the ground. The thing is, within a year or two, that shot is buried and inaccessible to the birds. But within that first year, while they're pecking at stuff in the water and on the ground, they're picking up the lead. The problem here is you have a great big bullet and it disintegrates or hits in the ground. It doesn't usually cause a problem because it's fairly stable. What they're using is they're saying that what happens is you shoot an animal and it's wounded and it runs away and it's got a piece of lead in it, and now the California condor swoops down and eats that dying or dead animal and then ingests that lead bullet. It's endangering the condors. Oh my God!
So guess what? I guess I should go for human cadavers. Waiting out in the
There's
wasteland.
no
for the
evidence for that either.
Yeah, I mean it's like, but they care more about the animals, the condor eating some dead animal, than they would say a murder victim with lead in them from a bullet wound. That makes no sense.
Luckily, PETA's drone program will help combat this a little bit because they can find these injured animals and they can murder them like PETA does with
all their dogs and
thousands
cats.
and thousands of animals. But they want that drone so they can monitor hunters and wounded animals. So, I mean, it could be a good thing. We could have PETA clean up all the lead.
Oh, apparently in
Without masks.
California, it is already illegal to use lead ammunition in the condor range, whatever that is. They've established it. You can't use lead bullets there. So, I mean, this is going to be crap. And the EPA tried to do this a few years ago, and there was such outrage against it. EPA was also trying to ban all lead in fishing tackle. There'd be no lead sinkers, no lead jig heads, and all that because birds or fish will eat it, ingest it, and then birds will eat the fish, and then it causes all kinds
Didn't
of
they
problems.
just ban those the ones that were only designed to kill the black talons? Didn't
Yeah, the
California
cop-killer.
ban those recently too?
Well, they're
after
AB
it's a little late.
It's the Bill 771, where the ATF is looking into an alternative to
hear
the
someone.
cop killer bullets. So, anyways, California.
Cop killer bullets.
I don't know what's happening, but beautiful state, but I wouldn't want to live there.
No.
But there was a former sheriff of Genesee County, Joe Wilson. He used to make a point in when he taught social criminal justice classes at Mott. He used to always to say the farmers had far more of dangerous jobs than cops, and he was a cop for well over 30 years, as well as with Flint cop as well as the sheriff of Genesee County. Now I disagree with a lot of his politics and a lot of the stuff he did later, but I thought it was a good point that he was making. It's not as dangerous profession as people are led to believe.
No, it's not. It's not the safest either. But yeah, there are definitely
tons-
other professions
tons.
that have more injuries and deaths
Yeah.
than being a police officer. That doesn't mean we shouldn't do what we reasonably are obligated to do to keep all human beings as safe as we can.
Did you know
It
that?
just means there's really not much that we should be doing.
Did you know that geologist was the 5th most dangerous job for white collar workers?
No, I didn't.
Number 1 was airline pilots.
That's weird.
Well, it's per 100,000. There's not that many, and when they
Yeah.
die, when they crash airplanes, it's just
They take a lot of people with them.
But geologists
Yeah,
was
that's a good
dangerous
point.
because they were out on outcrops and they got struck by lightning, and they do a lot of falls and trips off of cliffs and things like that when they're out working.
Do you work
So-
on cliffs?
No, not anymore.
Oh.
When I found out it was the fifth most dangerous job.
You quit and became a cop.
It's raining outside. I don't go out, and, and it better be really flat and level where I work.
I
All
fly
right.
kites with a key on it most of the time.
We talked about the IRS. They had an order. They had an order out for 60 Remington Model 870 12-gauge shotguns, the typical police shotguns, the only one authorized for duty by the IRS. Did you know that the IRS Criminal Division has 2,700 armed agents? 2,700.
Do you know how many people don't pay their taxes?
And they're required to carry a firearm. And you know what the basic qualification is for that position? You
High
must
school.
carry a firearm. That is the qualification to be an IRS special agent, is that applicants must carry and use a firearm. They're thinking about giving them a little bit more training.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, the big
I'm
sign.
not.
You shoot at this, you don't shoot at this.
Yeah.
You know.
If they're holding a Tea Party plaque, go ahead.
And we must have better accident reporting because you guys are shooting your guns a lot and having accidents that are not being reported.
Yeah, this is, I mean,
And this is from their own group. It says special agents not properly trained in the use of firearms could endanger the public as well as their fellow agents.
See, well, since 47% of the population doesn't pay federal income tax, they really got to squeeze as much as they can out of those people who are required to pay federal income tax.
well, they need to pay their fair share.
Between 2009 and 2011, there were 11 accidental shootings by IRS accidental discharge.
And they want to ban our guns from the general population. Okay.
This is that weird debate that we've had because you talk about DHS, the Department of Education, these people, they're all part of the executive branch, which really is the enforcement branch. So when you think of law enforcement, you think of guns. I mean, police officers, in a city have guns. They might be going a little overboard, though. I'm not sure we need an IRS. The IRS really isn't that old of an organization. I mean, it definitely wasn't in the Constitution, I don't think. I think if you do something like, I don't know, a flat tax or a so-called fair tax, just a straight across-the-board percentage,
It was right after the creation of the
you
Federal
could get rid
Reserve
of the
System.
IRS.
You know, the IRS was created right after the
Yeah, it was in the 1900s for sure.
and it was right after
Relatively early.
after the Federal Reserve System, which is totally unconstitutional, and it's a bunch of private individuals controlling our monetary supply. Yeah, really great thing.
Yeah.
This is about safety and children, Nate. Do you see what Oregon did?
Was the IRS?
No, I'm changing gears.
We're moving on.
It's on the
Let me
governor's.
scroll to it.
You're faking that. Isn't it right?
Yeah, it's right there.
Okay.
Oregon, you said.
Oregon. It's Oregon.
Those Oregonians over there.
Oregonians.
Love origami.
On the governor's desk. Smokers who decide to have a cigarette with kids in their car might soon be ticketed.
Yeah?
Passed a bill that you cannot smoke in a car with minors under the age of 18 in it. Now,
Do you know how bad secondhand smoke is for you?
It's very bad.
Not really as bad as you would
It's
think.
really bad, yeah.
Not really that bad.
I hate it.
Oh, I don't think it's comfortable, but
I don't like it. The only time I like secondhand smoke is when I'm smoking a cigar.
you like other people to have to...
I like
if you're smoking a cigar, then
its primary source.
yeah, it's firsthand
What if
smoke.
I have someone else puff on it and just blow it my way and
Yeah.
smoke it? Then it's secondhand.
What about marijuana?
I don't know about marijuana, but the thing is, they can't use it as a primary reason to pull you over in Oregon. They can do it
Ever? Because remember the
I know
law in Michigan.
for now, but
Although
they
it
can
was
do it as a
right in the law.
secondary infraction. Now, guess how much the fine is?
$92.
It's not $1 for saying go F yourself. First offense, $250 ticket. Second offense, $500. There ain't going to be no third offense. That's a Cool Hand Luke, which is another movie you ought to really see.
I've seen it.
Oh, okay.
This-
Because then they shoot you the
This
third time.
is part of the whole mantra that the one with the lisp on MSNBC. What is her name? Melissa Harris Perry, I think. She said, your children are not your children. We will make the decisions of what your children. It's a community thing, and we think that you don't
Takes a
know what's
village.
best for your children. And since you smoke, and since parents have smoked for hundreds of years, we've decided that you don't know best. You don't know how to regulate that. You can't make the decisions for what your children breathe.
Just a couple of words. Think of the children.
That is a couple. And I do, and I think they're better off left to, their parents' decisions. I think we've seen that throughout history, and in general, it just makes sense.
But these kids, they can't make decisions for themselves. We're only protecting the children.
Right.
You shouldn't subject your children to that smoke.
Unless you abort them.
Even though you
worry about those children.
Even though you can sit in your own home in a small room with your children and smoke all friggin' day. But you can't do it out in car in public. That's all right. I mean, California don't they have some ordinances that you can't even smoke in your backyard because it might affect the neighbor?
Is that California? I think New York City does.
Well,
I think
thought
New
it was
York City
California,
was trying to get it regulated in your car too, which is
Here's a poor guy. He's 52-year-old Scott Becker, been volunteering as a crossing guard. You'll like this, John. As a crossing guard for 8 years. He carries a .40 caliber Smith & Wesson for protection. Not only
the best round to carry for personal protection, by the way.
Not even he doesn't carry just when he's doing the crossing guard. He does it for his work and job and all the time. Anyways, apparently somebody posted a picture of him on a Facebook page, and it got back to the school, and oh my God, we can't have that. So he had a meeting with the school board, and they said, you can't carry that gun because, Pennsylvania law's open carry. The federal law makes it a gun-free zone, so you can't have a gun, and you're only 300 feet away from the school.
Yeah.
And I think what they didn't mention was he was not in violation of the law, because if you have a concealed pistol license from the state that you're in, you can possess a firearm within the gun-free zone proposed by the federal law, which is unconstitutional in itself. But what I didn't like was this guy. This is what the guy says. When asked to no longer carry his gun during working hours, Becker happily complied. Usually I have it on me, but he asked this morning to take it off while crossing the kids, and I have no problem with it. I don't want to cause grief for anybody. I'm not out to be a monster or anything. I'm just out to do my job. I just thought that if I carried a gun, that I might be able to stop some madman that might come in and try to harm the children. That's horrible that he would think that. Who is he to say that he could
he
protect
was
the
a
children?
monster until he actually complied and took his gun off his hip.
That's the reason he carried it, was he thought he could protect the kids if something should happen.
He actually was thinking of the children in a very logical way.
He said, in the event of emergency, the police can't always be there in a hurry. I just thought I could be there. No, we want to cut your balls off so you can't do anything and be a little sheep.
And not only put the children at risk, but you, yourself,
But the anti-gun crowd, they don't like to listen to logic. It's all sheer emotion.
It's not logic.
But he's compliant. I'd say, okay, fine, and I would have quit. That's just me, though. And a lot of parents were saying, good for him. We think it's great that he was there and be able to protect the kids if something bad happened. But, you get a couple people, it's terrible. Oh, my God. And of course, he's probably ignorant of the federal law and believed him when he said you can't have a gun within 1,000 feet. Was it federal statute? Or? Well, it doesn't say there's a Pennsylvania. It said federal laws in the article. So
okay.
Some states have their own gun-free laws.
Right.
And I don't know that Penn does, but we'll see. Anyways, poor guy.
We won't.
Well, somebody might come out and challenge that. Maybe crossing guards all over Pennsylvania will start packing heat. So
you got to have the back of your fellow crossing guards. So.
We only got a few minutes. I just want to say this real minute. You heard about what's his name? Manufacturer of the AK-47, Kalashnikov. He's an old man now. He just gave away his name to 2 Russian gun manufacturers. Just gave his name away. They figured the brand is worth $10 billion.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Oh, I just want them to be happy. And, my name will live on and all that." The problem is they're going to be able to use his name on anything.
Sure.
So they can have Kalashnikov condoms or Kalashnikov teapots or household chemicals or hats or shoes or anything.
Teapots?
Hitler-shaped.
Kalashnikov, Hitler teapot.
I don't think that would go together.
Doesn't fit, no.
They were fighting the Germans at that time. But anyways, good for him, I guess, but geez, wouldn't you want a little piece of the action? And then what they're going to do, they're going to screw his name over.
Would you? It's not always about money.
I know it's not always about money, but it's almost always about money.
Sometimes it's about posterity.
And sex. It's either money or sex. Those are the only two things.
Or posterity. And maybe that's what he was going for.
So he already has that. He invented one of the greatest
Not when
guns
all
ever
of
made.
the AK-47s are confiscated and destroyed except the ones that Al-Qaeda has.
Okay. I still would have asked for $1.
Just so you could pay the fine for the guy in Texas that was
in Gonzales, Texas.
Yeah. Gonzales, the site of
Steven, all right.
that gun, huh?
Yeah, Steven Seagal might be a spokesperson for a Russian gun manufacturer if things go well.
That makes sense.
Degtyaryov Arms or whatever. I don't like what you're doing. Anyways, we got to.
I think we're out of time.
Yeah, we have so much to talk
Thanks for
about.
listening.
Yeah, we just droned on and on. Sorry, the show sucks so bad. I blame me. So does Nate.
No.
We'll blame John.
A little bit.
John takes everything. He's got big shoulders. He can take it.
And no one really sees him.
Nobody sees me cry at night.
Right. Tears on his pillows. All right. Well, until next time, we want to say stay safe.
Stay armed.
And stay informed. Goodbye.